It is tea time with Twaambo coming to you from the Big B, Berlin, Germany. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. I appreciate you. I appreciate your questions, your comments. I appreciate your visits to the website, and I appreciate you subscribing and sharing this podcast. Thank you so much for sticking with me. This is the last episode in the season. I have been working on some new content for the winter and new content for the new season, which will be starting at the beginning of next year. Thank you so much for listening. I started this podcast just, off the fly. It's something that I had been pondering about for a long time, and I decided to just put on my big girl panties and do it. And thank you so much for, coming on the ride with me, sticking with me, and sharing the podcast. I really appreciate all the feedback that I've been getting. And I'm not going to waste any time because I don't have the time. I'm not going to waste any time, and I'm going to go straight into the questions that I got via Instagram. And if you're not following me on Instagram, the account is teatime_Twaambo. And you can go ahead and get in touch with me over there if you have any questions or suggestions for the show. I would really, really appreciate it. I'm going to go into the first question that I got, and it was a very interesting question. And the question is, do you believe that you will be found by someone and shouldn't search for love? I guess I'm losing hope for true love. The answer that I have for this question is, are you putting yourself out there to be found? I think that a lot of people that have found their true love or have found the person that they're with right now have done so by, engaging in social interactions, whether it's going out with friends or going out to museums and to coffee shops, etc., being introduced by friends. And I have a few friends actually that have met their partners via online dating. And it has worked out pretty well for them. But I am feeling that this person is asking this question because they don't believe that they should, put themselves out there, and that it feels wrong because your true love should be able just to find you. I think that your true love sometimes needs a little help in finding you. And I'm not saying that go ahead and just, plaster your face all over the place and be open to everybody and everything. I am saying go ahead and live your life. Go out and have fun, meet friends, travel, go on adventures, and you will find your true love. You will find a partner that respects you, that is into what you are into, and have a good time. Go out there and enjoy yourself. Enjoy being the best you that you can be. And trust that different people will come into your life. But because you're having all these experiences, you don't have to, feel that you owe somebody else for the experiences that you're having. You're having these experiences for yourself. And if you do meet somebody that wants to share this beautiful journey that is your life with you, then that's the cherry on the cake. So I hope that my answer helps you. Go ahead, go out there, have fun. If you meet somebody, great. If you don't meet somebody immediately, you will still be having the best time of your life. So the next question is, are we going to have an episode on being feminist? Because this person would like to hear my thoughts on the topic. Yes, in the next season, I would love to have a conversation around being feminist. I have a lot of thoughts about that. I have a lot of feelings about it, what it means for me, what it means for society, what it means for my culture, being from Zambia. I'm currently putting together my thoughts. I don't want to speak from without, especially on an important topic like feminism. I am a mother of a little girl, so this topic has really interested me much more than it did before. And yes, we definitely will have an episode about that, so please stick with me and I will have this conversation. The next question we're going to have says, you had an episode where you talked about forgiving somebody that came back into your life. Did you mean that we must forgive everybody that comes back into our life? Very good question. And I actually thought about this after I had hit publish on the podcast. I was coming off of the high of having had this conversation with this person and all the realizations that I made. And I felt that I should go ahead and make that podcast and be able to be clear with my thoughts at the moment before I got them all muddled. But I would like to be clear about something. I think that you can forgive somebody, but not let them back in your life. You can let go of whatever they did to you and not let them back in. Because we are at the day and age now where we are a little more clear about the different kinds of abuse that take place within different relationships. Emotional abuse, relationships with narcissists, things like gaslighting, where somebody is abusing you, but they make you think that you are the person that's doing something wrong. And when you are in these situations, forgiving somebody and letting them back in is obviously not something that you want to do. And I am preparing my notes for an episode talking about that, about gaslighting and narcissists and really difficult relationships and whether forgiving them means letting them back in. So to answer that listener, no, you should not let somebody in when they have been abusing you. You can forgive them, but it does not mean that you should open your door wide open and let them back in to continue with their bad behavior. Forgive them and go ahead and go on with your own healing on your own path and get right with yourself, before you continue and let anybody back in. And you don't have to let this person back in. Sure, people change, but it takes a while for you to see that, that change has taken place. And somebody had said, and there's a quote that I've seen that says, the best sorry is changed behavior. It may take a while for you to see whether this person has really changed their behavior or not. So if there is somebody in your life that, has been abusing you and they've apologized and you've forgiven them and they want back in your life, you don't have to take them back in, especially if you have suffered abuse at their hands. I hope that answers your question. And the last question that I got was from somebody that was asking me where I had been, all their lives and why it's taken me so long to make this podcast. That's a very, very good question. It's taken me so long to make a podcast on my own because I've done different podcasts with other people and I really enjoy doing that. I did a radio show. I was introduced to doing radio by my very good friend Mukuka Mayuka, and I'm really grateful for her for putting me, on this path with starting with radio and podcasting, etc. If it wasn't for her, I probably would not have done this. And she was very instrumental in getting me on radio, and I was interviewing people, and I love to interview people. And I did a podcast with her called Diaspora Truth, and I really enjoyed that. And I also did another podcast with my friend Carla, and it was called Get This Man, and that was really great as well. And I enjoyed having, conversations with her, discussing many different things. But the real reason that it took me a long time to start my own podcast was because I was never confident that I can actually do it on my own. I needed the support of somebody else doing it with me because I wasn't sure that I was good enough to do it. And it took me a long time after the last podcast that I had done with Carla to finally start this podcast. And Carla had really been getting on my case about doing it, and I always, brushed her off, and I just really needed to get to the place where I said, okay, I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, how I want to talk about it. And as you've noticed, my podcast is about laying my thoughts and my feelings, in all honesty, across to you and talking to you about it, because I believe that, people in my age range have the same problems that I have, and they're asking the same questions that I'm asking, and we don't seem to be finding the answers, or we have a hard time with being vulnerable with each other and letting each other know that we're having a hard time. Because now with social media, we're only seeing each other's highlight reels. We're only seeing, when somebody's out at the club or somebody's at the coffee shop and they're eating, their bagel and they're drinking their cappuccino. You only see the best parts of their day, but you don't see the questioning times, the lonely times, the times when you feel like you're not worth it, you're not enough. How can I make more money? I don't know how to do that. I don't have a mentor. I don't know what it is to be vulnerable with my friends because I feel that I'm not cool enough. These are all issues that we're still having at our age. Some of these issues we feel that we should have, had them sorted out when we were teenagers. But this is stuff that we are still dealing with. And I'm still dealing with all of the issues that I'm talking to you about on this podcast. And so I do this because I feel like this is something that we need to discuss. And I don't have a problem with baring my soul to talk about it because I know that when I do that, other people can relate and it helps them as well. So that is the reason why I do this podcast. I do it so that we can all talk about it and get clear on where we want to go. We need to face ourselves and the places where we're unsure so we can move on with our lives. And that's what Tea Time with Twaambo is all about. So I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate your questions. I appreciate your visit to the blog. Thank you so much for hanging with me this first season. I will be back with the second season in January. And please look up my Instagram. I have more information there for different things that I will be doing. I have a few courses coming out soon. And yeah, I'm excited about all of it. So stay tuned and go ahead and share this episode. Get the word out. And I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for sticking with me this season. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.